Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News and Indian Perspective on All India Radio. This is Vaibhav Jyotsna Srivastav, and with me is Aditi Lumba, bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment and more. The headlines. Central Asian nations' foreign ministers call upon Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Russian President Vladimir Putin and Prime Minister Modi speak over telephone on deepening bilateral cooperation. Hong Kong votes in legislative elections under Beijing's controversial Patriots-only system. Gabriel Boric wins Chile's presidential runoff elections. Saudi Arabia allows Indian nationals vaccinated with Covaxin to enter the kingdom. In Jammu and Kashmir, Delimitation Commission proposes 9 assembly seats for the scheduled tribes and 7 seats for the scheduled castes. Prime Minister Narendra Modi interacts with CEOs of leading companies ahead of Budget 2022. In football, India enter the final of SAFF Under-19 Women's Championship 2021, and tennis superstar Rafael Nadal tests positive for COVID-19. As India marches towards administering 150 crore vaccine doses against COVID-19, news about the new corona variant is a cause of concern. In this situation, we appeal to our listeners to get fully vaccinated at the earliest and help others get vaccinated. Please continue to follow these 3 simple steps to stay safe. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, focus on hand and face hygiene. For any COVID-related information and guidance, contact national helpline numbers 011-2397-8046 and 1075. And now the news in detail. The foreign ministers of Kazakhstan, Kyrgyz Republic, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan called on Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Monday. The foreign ministers of the Central Asian countries are visiting New Delhi to take part in the 3rd India-Central Asia Dialogue. During the meeting, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said India accords highest priority to its long-standing relations with Central Asian countries. He recalled his memorable visits to all the Central Asian countries in 2015 and subsequent visits to Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan and the Kyrgyz Republic. Highlighting the popularity of Indian films, music, yoga in the region, Mr. Modi underlined the importance of maintaining cultural and people-to-people contacts between India and Central Asia. He also stressed on the potential of enhanced economic cooperation and the role of connectivity between India and Central Asia. The Central Asian foreign ministers conveyed greetings of their presidents to Prime Minister Narendra Modi. They emphasized the readiness of their leadership to further strengthen relations with India. They briefed Mr. Modi on the deliberations held under the chairmanship of External Affairs Minister of India during the India-Central Asia Dialogue. They said issues related to trade and connectivity, development partnership and regional developments, including the situation in Afghanistan, were discussed during the India-Central Asia Dialogue. India and the Central Asian countries will mark the 30th anniversary of the establishment of their diplomatic relations next year. Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Monday spoke with Russian President Vladimir Putin over telephone. During their conversation, the 2 leaders followed up on some of the issues discussed during the recent visit to India by President Putin. The exchange helped firm up the future course of action on issues including opportunities for furthering defense cooperation, cooperation in supply of fertilizers, enhancement of India's engagement with the Russian Far East. The conversation also allowed an exchange of views on international issues. The leaders agreed to remain in regular touch on all aspects covered under the India-Russia Special and Privileged Strategic Partnership and to continuously strive to further deepen bilateral cooperation.
The first Legislative Council election was held in Hong Kong under Beijing's controversial Patriots-only overhaul of the political system. The elections have been swept by Beijing's loyalists amid a record low turnout of only 30.2%. This is the lowest since Hong Kong returned to Chinese control in 1997. The Asian financial hub was rocked by anti-Beijing and pro-democracy protests for several years before Beijing imposed a sweeping national security law on it in 2020, which has made it easier to punish pro-democracy demonstrators, while Hong Kong authorities have jailed dozens of activists in recent months. A report from our Beijing correspondent.
Just 20 seats out of total 90 seats up for direct voting, no candidates from the city's opposition parties in the fray, and a record low voter turnout of little over 30%. Political analysts say the Hong Kong results are a setback for the city's democratic traditions. Officials downplayed the record drop in voter participation in patriots-only polls, while pro-democracy activists took it as a rebuke to China after Hong Kong was brought under its authoritarian grip. The move is a continuation of China's plan to tighten control over Hong Kong and push for loyalty from all levels of power following 2019's huge pro-democracy protests. Despite the criticism, Beijing looks set to move ahead with further changes to the city's political system. Anshuman Mishra for World News, All India Radio, Beijing.
Elsewhere, the foreign ministers of Australia, Canada, New Zealand and United Kingdom and the United States Secretary of State expressed grave concern on the outcome of Legislative Council elections in Hong Kong. In a joint statement, the countries described the elections as the erosion of democratic elements of Hong Kong's electoral system. It added that the actions undermine Hong Kong's rights, freedoms and high degree of autonomy. It called upon China to act in accordance with its international obligations to respect protected rights and fundamental freedoms in Hong Kong. The death toll from Typhoon Rai, which rocked the Philippines, has reached 375. This is the strongest typhoon to hit the Philippines this year. It is also one of the deadliest storms to hit the country in recent years. The Philippine Red Cross has reported complete carnage in coastal areas. According to reports, the National Police has said that at least 239 people were injured and 52 were missing after Typhoon Rai ravaged the southern and central regions of the archipelago.
In Chile, the country's left party leader, Gabriel Boric, won the country's presidential runoff election on Sunday. The result is being described in some quarters as a major revival for the country's progressive left. The progressive left has seen a rise in popularity since widespread protests in the South American country 2 years ago. According to reports, 35-year-old Boric led to the vote count, with the broad leftist coalition having 55.86% of the vote, when the far-right rival Jose Antonio Cast conceded defeat. A native of Punta Arenas in Chile's far south, Boric, as a student, led the Federation of Students at the University of Chile in Santiago. He rose to prominence leading protests in 2011 demanding improved and cheaper education. By 2014, still in his 20s, he had joined the National Congress as a lower house legislator, representing Chile's vast and sparsely populated southernmost region of Magallanes. Boric will be sworn in as the president on the 11th of March. Bangladesh Navy has been tuned to a full-fledged three-dimensional force through inducting two submarines, BNS Navjatra and BNS Joy Jatra, in 2017, said Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. She said this while virtually addressing the Winter President Parade at the passing out of the cadets at Bangladesh Naval Academy. Prime Minister Hasina said that work is underway to build a permanent submarine base with modern facilities at Pekuar in Cox's Bazar to provide safe jetty facilities to submarines and warships at the harbour. She said her government is implementing infrastructural developments, induction of warships and strengthening of the operational capacity of the existing ships to build the Navy as a strong regional force.
India and the US are taking steps to counter the economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, said Foreign Secretary Harshvardhan Shringla at an interaction with the US-India Strategic Partnership Forum, USISPF. He added that when Prime Minister Narendra Modi and US President Joe Biden discussed global economic recovery, climate actions and sustainable development on the sidelines of G20 and COP26 summits earlier this year, Mr. Shringla said that with new COVID variants, we have to be agile and ensure development of cost-effective and safe vaccines, therapeutics and diagnostics. Speaking on Quad collaboration, the Foreign Secretary said both nations have their task cut out to implement the vision of Quad leaders for a peaceful, prosperous and stable Indo-Pacific. He added that vaccine delivery under the Quad framework will commence in early 2022 to countries in the Indo-Pacific region. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia has announced that Indian nationals vaccinated with Covaxin are now approved to enter the kingdom. The kingdom's embassy in India, in a statement, made the announcement on Monday. India's COVID vaccination coverage has crossed 138 crore 26 lakh mark. Out of the total vaccination, more than 82 lakh vaccine doses have been administered as first dose, while over 55 crore 43 lakh doses have been administered as second dose. Union Health and Family Welfare Ministry said more than 58 lakh vaccine doses were administered till 7 p.m. on Monday. Israel on Monday added the United States, among other countries, to its no-fly list, citing concerns over the spread of the new Omicron coronavirus variant. Acting on Health Ministry recommendations, Israeli cabinet ministers have decided to put the United States, Italy, Belgium, Germany, Hungary, Morocco, Portugal, Canada, Switzerland and Turkey on the no-fly roster. Meanwhile, President of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, is back in the office after spending a week in isolation following a positive COVID-19 test. The Office of the Presidency confirmed Ramaphosa's return in a statement.
India's meteorological department has said that cold wave conditions are likely to continue during the next 2 days in northwest India and certain parts of West India. The meteorological department said that dry northwesterly winds of about 10 to 15 km per hour are likely to prevail over plains of northwest India till Tuesday, enhancing the adverse impact of cold wave and cold day conditions. Cold wave to severe cold wave conditions are very likely to continue to prevail over a few pockets of Punjab, Haryana and Chandigarh, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh on Tuesday, and very likely to abate thereafter. This is All India Radio giving you the news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts.
In today's Hotspot section, we bring you a special program on the India-Central Asia relations in light of the third India-Central Asia dialogue.
India views Central Asia as part of its extended neighborhood. The first India-Central Asia dialogue, proposed jointly by India and Uzbekistan, was held in January 2019. The dialogue provides a common platform to exchange ideas and to intensify cooperation in a wide range of areas, including connectivity, energy, trade, and people-to-people exchange. The strategic significance of the dialogue has increased with the deteriorating situation in Afghanistan. Earlier this year, addressing the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit virtually, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said that the landlocked Central Asian countries can benefit immensely by connecting with India's vast market. Ahead of the dialogue, former diplomat Anil Wadhwa spoke to AIR about the significance of the dialogue.
The relationship between India and Central Asian countries has been on the upswing, especially since the visit of the Prime Minister in 2015 to these countries. For India, Central Asia is a part of its extended neighborhood with which India has enjoyed historical, cultural and civilizational ties which span several millennia. And India's outreach to Central Asia is very significant because this region is vital to India's security, more so after what has happened recently in Afghanistan, to meet its growing energy needs, including through the supply of uranium, as well as the expanding market which it is for trade and investment, for cooperation in culture, for defense, tourism, and also people-to-people links. And that is why in 2019, the first India-Central Asia dialogue was held in Uzbekistan. It was actually designed to bring dynamism and energy to this relationship, which, as we know, has languished for much of the period after these countries became independent in 1991. Then we saw the second dialogue, despite the COVID-19 pandemic last year in October, through a virtual conference format. And it's very laudable that now we have the third in the series of dialogues being held this year, and it's not been allowed to drift into the next year. So this is an in-person meeting and this will actually, after 2 years, it will actually provide a very valuable opportunity to the foreign ministers to take stock of progress in the decisions that have been taken during the last two meetings to identify new areas of cooperation. And there are plenty of them if we look at the joint statements that have been issued in the past.
Ahead of the dialogue, India hosted a regional conference on the situation in Afghanistan at the National Security Advisor level. The conference was attended by by the security advisors of all 5 Central Asian countries as well as those from Russia and Iran. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, during the 2+2 ministerial dialogue, had said the situation in Afghanistan has wider repercussions for the Central Asian region. Ambassador Wadhwa speaks about the significance of the dialogue in the light of developments in Afghanistan and its bearing on regional peace and stability.
Well, Afghanistan is certainly a very important topic for this kind of a meeting because, we last few months have seen a very profound transformation in our regional security architecture, especially since the Taliban took control of Kabul on August 15. But even after 4 months, so far, no one in the region or outside has accorded diplomatic recognition to this dispensation. There are several reasons, as we know, for all this. But several countries, including those from Central Asia that we're talking about, are carrying on economic and official engagements with the Taliban caretaker administration. In fact, barring Tajikistan, all the Central Asian states are maintaining their embassies in Kabul. They're also conducting commercial cooperation with the Taliban setup. The foreign minister, therefore, can be expected to identify steps that the Taliban would need to take before it could formally engage with the international community. And we know that these are, for example, putting in place an inclusive government, ensuring the rights of minorities, of women, children, and girls are safeguarded, not allowing the territory, which is very important for us, to be used for terrorist operations, stopping the export of drugs and human trafficking, etc. But more importantly, the ministers will affirm their commitment to provide humanitarian food relief and essential medical supplies for the people of Afghanistan, and also to call upon the neighbors to provide free, unhindered and unimpeded access to such supplies, which is exactly what India has been saying. And the biggest obstacle that India has been facing in actually deepening this partnership between India and Central Asia is the absence of common contiguous borders, because Pakistan refuses to provide access to Afghanistan and Central Asia through its territory. So that is why India has sought to overcome this impediment through various means, like developing connectivity through Chabahar in Iran, as well as the international North-South corridor to Central Asia and Russia, and also acceding to the Ashgabat Agreement in 2018. But of course, during this engagement that we are going to see, which is going to last till Monday, I think there will be a greater engagement between them in a spirit of friendship, trust, and mutual understanding, and come to a joint understanding on how to tackle the problem of Afghanistan.
The meeting was held in New Delhi on Sunday under the chairmanship of the External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar. Minister of Foreign Affairs of Kazakhstan, Kyrgyz Republic, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan took part in the meeting. In his opening remarks, Dr. Jaishankar on Sunday said that India and the Central Asian countries share deep-rooted historical and civilizational ties with Afghanistan. He also stressed on finding ways collectively to help the people of Afghanistan.
Our meeting today comes amidst a rapidly changing global, economic and political situation. The COVID-19 pandemic has resulted in an enormous setback to global health and to global economy. It has changed the way we imagine societies, workplaces, supply chains and governance. It also highlights the inadequacy of the existing multilateral structures to meet new and emerging threats. We need diversified supply chains and more regional solutions. India has been steadfast in its resolve for the fight against COVID-19. We have supplied vaccines to more than 90 countries, including Tajikistan and Uzbekistan. We have also offered the CoWIN platform to assist the vaccination programs of our friendly partners. At the same time, we deeply appreciate the support extended to us by the international community during the second COVID wave, especially from Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan. I would like to express my gratitude to all of you for the great care you took to ensure the welfare of Indian students in your countries during the pandemic. Despite the impact of the pandemic, our countries have sustained the momentum of our relations. I've had the privilege of meeting each one of you in 2021 earlier, 4 of you in your own capitals. We are very pleased at the state of our bilateral relations, but we know that the potential is very much more. Each one of us today faces the test of rebuilding our economy. Our pursuit of SDGs must also be energized. But together we can do this better, and India, I assure you, will be your steadfast partner. We already have a good history of cooperation, but my message to you today is a readiness to take it to the next level. Our ties must now focus around 4 C's: commerce, capacity enhancement, connectivity, and contacts. We all also share deep-rooted historical and civilizational ties with Afghanistan. Our concerns and objectives in that country are similar: a truly inclusive and representative government, the fight against terrorism and drug trafficking, ensuring unhindered humanitarian assistance, and preserving the rights of women, children, and minorities. We must find ways of helping the people of Afghanistan.
A joint statement released after the India-Central Asia dialogue said the ministers emphasized on the civilizational, cultural, trade and people-to-people linkages between India and Central Asian countries and reaffirmed their commitment to build a comprehensive and enduring India-Central Asia partnership. The dialogue is expected to provide further fillip to the age-old cultural and civilizational links between India and the Central Asian countries and deepen cooperation amongst them.
The Jammu and Kashmir Delimitation Commission has proposed to increase 6 assembly seats for the Jammu division and 1 for the Kashmir division. For the first time in Jammu and Kashmir, 9 assembly seats are proposed to be allocated for the scheduled tribes and 7 seats are proposed for the scheduled castes. The commission, headed by Justice Ranjana Prakash Desai, met all the 5 associate members, including Dr. Farooq Abdullah, Dr. Jitendra Singh, Mohammad Akbar Lone, Hasnain Masoodi and Jugal Kishore Sharma in New Delhi on Monday. Chief Election Commissioner Sushil Chandra and Chief Electoral Officer of Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir were also present during the meeting. Delimitation is the act of withdrawing the boundaries of an assembly or Lok Sabha seat to represent changes in population over time. The exercise is carried out by a Delimitation Commission, which in India is a high power body whose orders have the force of law and cannot be called in question before any court.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Monday interacted with leading CEOs of companies, CEOs of banking, infrastructure, automobiles, telecom, consumer goods, textile, technology, healthcare, space, electronics sector have participated in the meeting and shared their views with the Prime Minister. This is one of the many interactions being done by the Prime Minister ahead of the Budget 2022. Ms. Preetha Reddy, Vice Chairperson of the Apollo Hospitals Group, shared her thoughts on the meeting.
The Prime Minister's leadership has been absolutely inspiring. Over the years, he led literally from the front, and me as a healthcare worker, I know the amount of work which went in during the COVID times, and I'm so proud to be an Indian. The Ayushman Bharat scheme or the Atmanirbhar scheme, which was both discussed, he gave us a patient hearing. But the amazing thing is that every point each one of the industrialists put forth, he remembered it and spoke about it in the interaction, which I think is amazing for a head of state. His leadership has been inspirational. His message was very clear that while the government can support, you are the ones who have to go there, achieve and perform.
Mr. Kenichi Ayukawa, CEO and MD of Maruti Suzuki, who participated in the meeting, said that investors are preferring to invest in India due to favourable policies.
Honorable Prime Minister has grand vision and ambitions for India. Auto industry is fully committed to contribute to his grand vision by making India a manufacturing hub for the world, increasing export and increasing localization. I think the most foreign investors around the world like to invest in India because they got the confidence of the policy that established with Mr. Modi. If Modi is here, we can invest. In addition, his grand vision, the PLI scheme and other policy support will help development and growth of the industry. So it is very positive.
CEO of Samsung, Mr. Manu Kapoor, talks about the recent government initiatives including the production-linked incentives, PLIs, and the thrust it provides to the electronics sector.
Mr. Prime Minister has a great vision. He has a grand vision, great vision, and whatever is happening right now, all our future generations will be indebted to his great vision. It is not only the way he's running the country, but the way he has helped the country to come out of these very difficult pandemic situations. One, he has come out with a lot of decisions on PLIs, decisions on industry, and most important is that his vision has derived I come from the electronic industry, and the way things are happening, whether it was PLI or whether it is the exports out of the country, it has been doing extremely well.
And now a report from the business world.
The BSE Sensex witnessed a steep fall of 1,190 points or 2.09% to finish at 55,822. NSE Nifty also plunged 401 points or 2.18% to end at 16,614. Asian share markets declined as surging Omicron cases triggered tighter restrictions in Europe and threatened to drag on the global economy into the new year. Japan's Nikkei 225 declined 2.1%, Hong Kong's Hang Seng plunged 1.9%, and South Korea's Kospi fell 1.8%. Singapore's Straits Times tumbled 1.2% and China's Shanghai Composite Index ended 1.1% down. European markets were up in intraday trade. Oil prices suffered big losses of more than 3% amid investor worries over demand concern as spread of Omicron coronavirus variant put restrictions in many parts of the globe. In intraday trade, Brent crude was trading around $71.30 per barrel. And in the forex market, rupee appreciated 17 paise against the US dollar. Domestic unit was trading at 75 rupees and 91 paise against the US currency. This is Lalema Aneja Dang for World News All India Radio.
Moving on to sports. In football, India have entered the final of the SAFF Under-19 Women's Championship 2021. India will play the final match on Wednesday. India defeated Nepal by 1-0 in the last group stage match in Dhaka yesterday. Priyanka Devi scored the winning goal in 66th minute. India finished second after the group stage with 3 wins and 1 defeat against Bangladesh. Holders and hosts Bangladesh are unbeaten, winning 3 and drawing 1. Spain's tennis superstar Rafael Nadal has announced that he has tested positive for COVID-19. The 20-time Grand Slam winner took to Twitter to make the announcement. Nadal was making a comeback at an exhibition event in Abu Dhabi following a foot injury in August. Now let us take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. The Globe and the Mail reports Moderna says that booster dose of its COVID-19 vaccine appears to be protective against Omicron variant. The Guardian writes EU has limited appetite for post-Brexit migration deal with UK. Sputnik News reports that World Economic Forum scheduled for January 2022 in Davos postponed over Omicron. Financial Times writes Joachim Nagel to take over as the head of Germany's Bundesbank. Tolu News reports Afghan Humanitarian Fund established by Organization for Islamic Cooperation. South China Morning Post says in the clean energy race, China may have a lot more scope for rooftop solar than US. The Washington Post reports Tigray rebels announce plan to withdraw from neighboring Ethiopian regions. Khaleej Times writes UK and Gulf foreign ministers to strengthen security economic ties. And Japan Times says Japan's ruling party kicks off national security strategy review.
And now a quick look at the headlines once again. Central Asian nations' foreign ministers call upon Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Russian President Vladimir Putin and Prime Minister Modi speak over telephone on deepening bilateral cooperation. Hong Kong votes in legislative elections under Beijing's controversial Patriots-only system. Gabriel Boric wins Chile's presidential runoff elections. Saudi Arabia allows Indian nationals vaccinated with Covaxin to enter the kingdom. In Jammu and Kashmir, Delimitation Commission proposes 9 assembly seats for the scheduled tribes and 7 seats for the scheduled castes. Prime Minister Narendra Modi interacts with CEOs of leading companies ahead of Budget 2022. In football, India enter the final of SAFF Under-19 Women's Championship 2021. And tennis superstar Rafael Nadal tests positive for COVID-19. India is celebrating the 152nd birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. Before we end, let us listen to his favorite bhajan, Vaishnavajan, by artists from Nepal. And with that, we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.